guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Monette and this is Evolve with Monette. I want to welcome you in Evolvers and new Evolvers if you would like to be. And I want to let you know that I am a professional intuitive empath as well as a chef and a published children's book author and a writer and a life path 3 and. So leave some of your ands below. What are you into? What do you do? And how did you find us over here? But before we get talking about all of that, I really want to get into something that has just floated up to me as being really important to share. It's something that changed my life as a metaphysical practitioner, understanding ages, stages, and the right aggregates that we should be in. Aggregates, you say? Yeah. The right groups, the right energy, the right timing for change and transition. And that has to do with our Saturn return. So today, this video is an intro to the Saturn return. I will be making a subsequent video, surviving your Saturn return in your 20s, surviving it in your 50s, and then if we're lucky enough, surviving it in our 80s. So this will be in total a 4-part series. Let's get started. So the first thing that we want to understand about a Saturn return is that it takes Saturn, the planet of growth, change, hard and long lessons, 28.5 years to get back to the place in your chart when you were born. And the reason that this is significant is because in the Western Hemisphere, the way that we view coming of age is we've time-stamped it at 18. And in America, that's when we say you're an adult, you're off to college, you're out of the house. Well, for the rest of the world, we're coming of age about in our 30s, early 30s, right? And I will say, I think I mentioned this the other day, but culturally, yes, I did mention it actually in a video that is posted about Nipsey Hussle because he had just transited his first Saturn return. And I will tie in some points about that here. If you are familiar with that story, then, feel free to check that video out. But the point is that in West Indian cultures, African cultures, Spanish cultures, and other European cultures, it's really only America that has this idea that you're a full adult at 18. You are allowed to stay in the house and be there till you're in your 30s because there is this implicit understanding. There is this intuitive understanding that we all have that we're really not adults till we get there. That's when the brain fog clears. So I want to just share with you some of the things that you can expect from your first Saturn return, second and third, but also just from Saturn return period, how to identify what it is, how to find yours, and how to understand and decode some of the lessons that you're going to be walking through. So that coming of age happens about 28 and a half to about 31, 32. Now, what happens in that time is you really do grow up and you start to make decisions based as an adult. The universe, your angels, higher power, God, whatever you want to ascribe it as, is trying to get you over the threshold and leaving childhood into adulthood. So major things happen for people when they're having a Saturn return. Sometimes they will have a child. Sometimes they will write a book. Sometimes they will build a business. Sometimes they will get divorced. Sometimes they will get married. Sometimes they will go to jail. Sometimes they'll get out of jail. Major transition. So I want you to think back to when you were 28 and a half, 29, what kind of craziness was going on in your life or what kind of wonderful things was going on in your life. For a lot of people, the Saturn return can feel like an upheaval because it is. Because no progress happens without chaos or change or discomfort. So that is the universe trying to get you to move forward, and that means it turns your life upside down. So as a Florida girl, the way that I like to describe this is the Saturn return is like a hurricane. There are outer bands like a tropical depression. They are inner bands. Then there is the quiet, silent, eerie eye. And then the other half of the storm, after you thought the worst was over, that kind of smacks you upside the head and is like, oh, we're not done yet. The reason for this with your Saturn return is that your angels are trying to get you to this next level, like I said. And so it asks of you, what do you want your life to be? Before we get to our Saturn return, we have a lot of indoctrinated knowledge from our tribe. Think about your parents' tradition, all those things. And we may love to take a lot of those things with us into the future. But the truth is that with a Saturn return, you're being asked the question, how exactly do you want to carry on with the rest of your life? And I'm going to just pull out my cards here because the card that I associate with Saturn return is the card of the Tower, which just happened to be almost right on top. So it's the card of the Tower. So this is a super large traditional tarot deck that I adore. If you guys can see that, if I can get that into focus for you. This is the card of the Tower. And I know you might look at this and think, I absolutely do not want that energy in my life, but it is inevitable again for growth. So what this means is we've built an edifice to ourselves and of ourselves. And Saturn Return asks you, what would you like to take with you into the next place? So if there was a brick in here from a family member about limited finances, everything crumbles around you kind of during a Saturn return. I'm just going to be honest with you. And you get to sort and sift through those bricks and the rubble and say, okay, I love this brick though. I love this idea of sitting down and spending time with family. I love this idea of passive income. Whatever you got from your tribe, you can choose to take with you, but the things that are outdated that no longer fit you get to fall away. And that is the beauty of Saturn Return. Now, here's the tricky part. With Saturn Return, if you do not heed the intuition and the downloads that are coming to you, because we're always getting downloads, we're always being communicated with, guys. If you are not heeding that, what happens is you get to about 32, 33, 34, and life starts to spiral out of control. And you're like, hey, wait a minute, I didn't want this. I really married this person when I was in my late 20s. I thought I loved them. How come all of a sudden this doesn't fit for me anymore? How come it doesn't feel right anymore? That's because Saturn Return was asking you, hey, you, wake up, Evolver. Does this fit you? Did you want this career as an accountant, or did you really want to be a chef? Did you want this career as an ophthalmologist, or are you really crazy about dolphin study? Whatever it is, Saturn Return will always ask you life-flipping, toe-turning questions, and you really have to kind of take a minute to evaluate that. So that's what you can expect on Saturn Return. You also start to get clear, heavy in your boots, and very grounded about who you are and what you have to offer. There's a focus that comes over you as you get through that first Saturn Return, and it is very important. So if you find yourself in the midst of a relationship questioning, should I be here, and you're in your Saturn Return, never fear, you will know the answer very clearly in a little while. And usually, some people stay, some people go, but it's about you asking those questions of yourself, what works for you, and stopping the old habits that we learned from our tribe about doing what we're told to do. What works for you versus what we're told to do is what your Saturn Return is about, especially that first one. I will go in depth again about how to survive your first Saturn Return in a later video. Also, guys, if you would like to get a reading and you're interested in having a deeper conversation about your Saturn Return, you can just pop over to my website, Evolving with Monette. I will be sure to link it below, and you can check out what I do and read up on that and see if it resonates with you. But when we're dealing with this Saturn Return, one of the things to also understand is that you will feel unmoored. You will feel a little bit like everything is out of sorts, but it is absolutely there for you to get to your best self. So do not fear, you will get through it. I also want to help you understand how to get through it better, and that is from your natal chart. Your natal chart is a birth chart that any astrologer can kind of draw up, and there are free resources on the internet. If you go to my About page, there is a link for a natal chart that I really seem to really resonate with personally, and I enjoy. It's very easy to use. But we want to find out where Saturn is in your chart. Once you know that, it's as easy as you Googling, if you would like to, Saturn in Capricorn, Saturn in Aries, Saturn in Virgo, so that you can understand some of the lessons that you're dealing with. For me, my Saturn is in Virgo, and in the How to Survive Your First Saturn Return, I'll give you a deep story about that and what it means, and we'll go through some of the signs, and maybe all of them actually, and kind of talk about what to expect with the planet or the sign that your Saturn actually falls in. So that's a little bit more advanced, but not hard at all, guys. This is all attainable. It's important for you to understand the blueprint of who you are. I so suggest an astrology reading. I so suggest knowing what your chart says, knowing your rising sign, your moon sign, as well as your sun sign, your Mercury sign, how you communicate. All these are important, but Saturn Return is a huge key for what you will be doing, and some of the lessons and some of the pathways, lessons, as well as patterns that you're going to see show up in your life, and how to maximize and capitalize on that. All right, I'm so glad that you joined me today. If you enjoyed this, please comment below. Let's have a conversation. I'm so happy to see the evolvers growing in number. I'm speaking that over you, a little sprinkle of magic, dust, and manifestation. And I want you to come on back, and we'll continue to evolve together.